to ask Len and Janey to talk about the conflict avoidance process. And Len, you've recently been elected to the chair of the conflict avoidance coalition working group, and clearly this is something that you've been working on for some time with the RICS and promoting. And I suppose in summary, it's the early stage intervention to keep projects on track rather than going into expensive formal disputes where some projects don't recover terribly well from in terms of relationships and partnerships. So,
well, I think first of all, there's no doubt about it. The process is getting a lot of traction, and I think the sporting analogy is about momentum out there, and the steering group is bringing together, you know, a powerful number of organisations and influencers. But just as an example, the Parliament Restoration Project, which is absolutely massive, they've now sent the conflict avoidance pledge in that's been embedded into all their contracts. So that's a huge step forward. So, I mean, I feel very passionate about this, as everybody knows, because early intervention to stop issues escalating into disputes, who would not want that? I mean, as a major client, you know, your organisation was a kind of pathfinder in terms of getting projects procured properly. So who would want to resist a process like this? So through the CICV with Ian and others, we've been working very hard to educate the supply chain. 400 organisations have signed the pledge, which is just a drop in the ocean, really. The target should be 15,000 to 20,000 in 2 years' time. And then there's been a commitment to get people to sign the pledge, and then actually embedding the principles of CAP into the way they operate and manage their business. So, it's definitely, in the last few months, definitely been a mood change about all of this, which I think is terrific. Hopefully we'll see more growth of this process in the next few years in the industry.
Janey, you've been on the journey as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, as Len says, the conflict avoidance process or collaboration, signing the pledge is the first step, but you don't have to. We would like to see you sign the pledge to quantify how many people, how organisations are doing that. But it is really about the behavioural change and the cultural change that we've been talking about the way through. What the guidance talks about, you know, be transparent, be collaborative, think about what you're doing before you do it. You know, it's just all about being a bit more aware of what can go wrong, because we all know what can go wrong, and it does go wrong far too often. So let's work together more. In the conflict avoidance pledge, if you sign that, you understand the principles, hopefully, and that we are driving here to improve the industry. It is getting traction, as Len says. It is a process. It is a process that you sign up to be more collaborative and negotiate and discuss things. If things go wrong, you can then go to the process to the decision maker in a CAP professional to help you decide what the right answer may be. So it's something less than adjudication. It doesn't prevent you going to adjudication or anything like that, but it's less expensive and it gives you a quick answer, hopefully, by talking again with the CAP professional who will point you in the right direction of what they think the right answer is. So it's all, but it's all ways of getting people to come and talk more about what the problems are, think about what the problems are, talk to the other side about what the problems are, articulate really what you want. Don't go away and think, I'm right, I'm not talking to you about it, which happens all too often. You know, quite often you'll be sitting in an adjudication and the other side says, well, I never really thought of that. No, why did you not really thought of that? Because you never actually took the opportunity to sit down and articulate your case, think what the other side were saying and talk about it. So it's what we're saying in this guide, you know, let's be a bit more open about what all the problems are in the industry and solve them together.
We're engaged with.
Yeah. You obviously work with a large cross section of the industry.
Yeah.
So you must see the issues when, you know, relationships break down in contracts. So
absolutely, I think what BPG was saying there is we see things having to start the conflict collaboration, but it's like what does that mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't actually mean anything if you're not actually putting it into practice. What I see the CAP do, particularly it's an interesting one if you look at it in terms of main contractor to subcontractor, particularly when the number of capable and competent subcontractors are getting less and less because of the fragmentation that we've got in the industry. So it's like, I see the introduction of CAP into the main contract subcontract relationship as being a drive to show that I'm a reasonable contractor, and I'm happy to have discussions and such like, rather than drive things down a particular dispute route because meaning more money. And I think that it will, in my view, change the culture because it's allowing people to have discussions and understand where the things are. Not always going to get these things right, not always going to get these things right from the right off. So if you've got an opportunity to have a conversation where you're actually airing these things, if you do end up going to dispute, to a certain extent you're going to go to dispute with your eyes having half open, if not open to carry. And that might change the route that goes because of it. So I do think that's a huge benefit to the industry that gets traction.
And to the other Ian, you obviously also represent a large proportion of the industry. Do you echo what other Ian has said? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one of the key things for us is that we need, we can't carry, if we're going to reduce or improve our risk management, we need to start reducing the number of variables on every job, which means we need more enduring partnerships, sustainable relationships. We've got a very disposable attitude to the supply chain at the moment. Well, if you won't do it, I'll get somebody else who will. And if I look at the new compliance environment, I just don't see that's possible moving forward. I think we've got to form these better partnerships where investment and relationships endure beyond the project, because we've got to start taking a longer term view of how we evolve the construction process rather than just deliver the project. But the conflicts avoidance process, as Janey said, the conflicts avoidance process doesn't stop you utilising all of your legal rights that you have available, but they're all quite expensive. And so to go, there's nothing more saddening for an organisation like ourselves than to see somebody go out of business because they're trying to defend themselves on a legal case that's got out of hand, and that happens. That does happen. So the cost of defending yourself can be quite high. And it just seems to make sense to me, before you declare all-out war, you raise the white flag and have a sit down and work out if there's a better way to move these things forward. That means that the relationship that you've developed, invested in, and will support the projects that you have and the future projects you're going to run is not damaged by a dispute resolution process that's going to leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. It's just common sense.
Thanks, Ian. Just kind of summing up the discussion we've had, which has been very productive. What Ian has just said at the end is common sense. I think that's something we could say about the guide. It pulls together many aspects that we would say are common sense in terms of approaching the construction process. It's not legal advice; it's guidance. There are aspects that are covered that perhaps a contractor client indeed would want to take legal advice before proceeding with a contract, but the guidance that we've explored today, albeit briefly, is, as I said earlier, covered comprehensively in the document. Some of the key messages that have come out in our discussions today are about transparency of information shared, the need for proper preparation before proceeding, and also things like lessons learned. We quite often will dig into something that hasn't gone very well. It's equally important to study what has gone well and understanding why, and then sharing that as best practice. I think as human beings, we want to get on with it. It's like, well, we need to be doing this, we need to rush away. And it's a bit like back in the 50s at the Le Mans racing, where all the cars were lined up and start your engines, everybody runs across, jumps in their car and they're away down the road. And we really shouldn't approach the industry like that. We need to be doing the preparation. We need to be taking the time to prepare and set things up for success. So anything finally to add, Janey, anything you'd like to add at all?
No, I think you've put it all there really. I'm just going to do another vote for the template, and remember to mark the dates.
Great, thanks, Len. Some concluding comments?
Yeah, I think we're on the cusp of three things. I think first of all, the conflict avoidance process, the quality initiative, and this guide. I think there's a great opportunity to make a meaningful change to the industry through these three processes. Something really tangible, I think, can happen. And it's going to take a lot of energy and commitment from CICV and a lot of other people to deliver that. But I do believe that, you know, we're heading in the right direction.
Thanks, Len. Ian?
Yeah, I think cultural change is here because we need to change it, because we keep doing the same things over and over and over again, and we can see where that's taking us. But I do think if we go down this route, it's about getting away from what Janey was saying earlier on lowest price. If we can change that culture in the industry to get the right price for the job and allow people to make their profit without doing anything underhand or otherwise in the whole process, we've got a chance of effectively making the industry sustainable. Because if we continue the way we're going, we're driving people away from the industry, and we're basically putting companies in a very difficult financial position. So I think it's beneficial if we follow a process that's proven to work, and it's proven to basically say it will probably keep you out of the courtrooms and stuff like. But if you do end up there, you'll have effective information to back that up. But that's not where you want to go. You've got to try and avoid all that stuff that causes it, and this will help you do that.
And Ian, any final thoughts from yourself?
No, I think a lot of the things that we've talked about have been arguments articulated over a long period of time. But I do believe we are on the cusp, as Len said, of change. And I would really recommend people go back to the Building Safety Act and look at the principles that lays down in terms of duty holders. What is your duty to this project? How are you evidencing that you're competent to do that? And if you can't, how are you making sure that you are developing your competence in order to support that process? How are we making sure this golden thread of information? Yeah, and this is about making sure people receive information in an actionable, a transparent way. And I think all of those things bring us back to how do we work better as a supply chain with our preferred suppliers, better enduring relationships supported by things like the conflict avoidance pledge. We've got to reduce the number of variables if we're going to improve our risk management. And that comes back to enduring supply chain partnerships, much more awareness of the fact if we squeeze what we're in the situation now is we squeeze the supply chain too hard. Look at the levels of insolvency, and they've gone through the roof. We're seeing every single day we're seeing reports of more insolvent contractors, and that's just evidence that we've squeezed it too hard. We need to allow the supply chain to make a certain amount of profit. And we need that profit to be reinvested in the businesses, and we can support evolution, all that wonderful modern methods of construction that everyone talks about, and that we never get time to even think about because we're too lost in the project.
Thanks, Ian. So I'll just thank Janey, Len, the two Ians for their insights, which have been very important to set the scene and to explain what's in the guide and the wider issues in the industry. Thanks to SNPF and our ICS for helping host the session, and we'd encourage you to look at the guide, and hopefully that will expand on what you've heard from us all today.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.